What's going on, my light and one? This is your boy MoashDMc back again, and today we have yet another Hypekage video. I know what you're saying, another one, DJ Khaled, but I just like them. They have a lot of good talking points whenever I tend to watch them. So this one piqued my interest. Luffy perfect form to beat Kaido. I know it's a big speculation he's gonna get Gear 5th after the last SPS with Oda, saying Gear 5th needs to be an option because of the enemies he's facing going forward. And if you remember back in Drum Island when Chopper showed that he had 7 forms, Luffy was like, cool, he has 7 forms. I know that's a little foreshadowing to Luffy possibly having 7 forms. So far we have base. Actually, I don't know if I'm gonna count base, but I'll count it in this count for right now. We have base, Gear 2nd, Gear 3rd, Gear 4th Bound Man, Gear 4th Snake Man, Gear 4th Tank Man, which leaves one more, and it's possibly gonna be either a Gear 4th another form or possibly Gear 5th. I'm leaning towards more of a Gear 4th Lion / Tiger Man, but we can talk about that later in the video. So without further ado, let's jump right into it, baby. Let's go. Get the headphones. Get the headphones. Get the headphones. Get the headphones on. All right, baby. Let's go. I need to be an MMB. I need to find someone that can make me an MMB. I'll make one myself. Welcome back with me,
guys. Welcome back with me with another YouTube video.
Oh.
So today I'll talking about Luffy's perfect Haki form. So make sure to stay tuned for that. If you do enjoy seeing this anime reviews and want to keep them coming, the best thing
hit the
you
like,
can do is smash that like button, and if you haven't, be sure to subscribe.
Button, right?
And this is crucial. Hit the notification bell, or you will miss.
But like I always say right at the start of the video, let me give you my take on the whole situation. Early on in the Wano arc with the training with Hyogoro, and I think it was during the flashback as well when he showed that he needs to flow chakra. Hyogoro was talking about overstressing Haki. And I do believe what Luffy has right now in his Gear 4th form is him overstressing Haki. So I do believe that he may not even attain Gear 5th right now. He may just use his Gear 4th form right now without actually overstressing that Haki and letting it flow. Because as we know, he overstresses Haki, ends up losing his Haki and depleting it, and won't be able to use it for 10 minutes after he's out of his Gear 4th form. So if he's able to flow Haki correctly, almost like how when Rayleigh stopped Marco with one finger, he was able to flow Haki to one point in his body and stop him. I feel like if Luffy's able to attain that level of control and that level of flow with his Haki, he may be able to perfect his Gear 4th form, which would inevitably make him that much more capable of fighting alongside Kaido for an extended period of time without him burning out of Haki and then being pretty much walking mummy at that point. But let's jump back into the video.
Future anime videos. Haki is one of the elements of strength in the One Piece story.
Yes, it's
as if
changed
completing
the
the devil fruit,
completely,
which gives a unique power to the person who eats it. Haki becomes one of the elements of strength that makes a person stronger.
True.
Haki itself has long been explained.
See, my question is, Luffy's gear forms is him infusing his devil fruit with his Haki. So my question is, are other people able to do that as well? Because as far as we've seen, no one has done that yet. They may use their devil fruit with Haki, like Katakuri just put armament Haki on over his devil fruit, but I feel like this is actually him infusing his Haki literally with his devil fruit, and I don't think we've seen that with anybody else. I mean, Awakening may be an example of Conquerors with the devil fruit, but we're not really sure yet because that hasn't been brought up in the story. So it'll be interesting to see other people actually be able to use Haki with their devil fruit, because I mean that might add like another element for people that Luffy's going to fight against. He's like, hey, you're doing the same thing as me, that's pretty cool, but I learned how to flow it, you're just forcing it and overstressing it, so let me show you how it's really done. But let's get back into it.
In the One Piece story, but a brief explanation of Haki itself was only done by Rayleigh when he was going to train Luffy.
And we just continue to get flashbacks from him, Katakuri now, and Hyogoro about
can generally
what Haki
be
is.
divided into 2 forms. However, Rayleigh's explanation raises a big question about Haki. Why didn't Rayleigh tell him about Conqueror Haki right away? If usually we can split Haki into 2 parts, why not Conqueror Haki? Rayleigh,
I mean, didn't he? I'm pretty sure he mentioned Conqueror's Haki in that if it's overused, it can overwhelm the people around you, and that Haki you can't Conqueror's Haki you can't train. You have to as the user gets stronger, so does his Conqueror's Haki. So I do think he explained it. Well, let's see what he says.
Mentioned that for most people Haki can be split in half, that Haki can generally be split into 2. But the working system of Haki itself is still not clearly explained.
Not at all.
This is what has been bothering me for such a long time.
That's also another thing I was thinking about, because a lot of talk about Haki is like Haki is willpower, Haki is your spirit. And what we've seen so far with Haki is that it only shows what other people are already capable of doing. Like with Katakuri's future sight, we know that's an advanced form of observation Haki. We know with armament Haki, him not touching, that's an advanced form of armament that Rayleigh showed and that Hyogoro showed in Udon Prison. With Conqueror's Haki now, it's what Kaido has shown us with Thunder Bago being able to infuse your attacks with Conqueror's Haki, Big Mom being able to do it, and now Luffy being able to do it, and those are the only 3 examples we have so far. But is Haki just that? Is Haki just what we've seen so far? I don't think so. I think that Haki is literally something you can manifest into other forms, being that you can use Haki in any way you really can shape it. You can use Haki in a way you shape it to be. So like, say like he wanted to use observation to tell what someone's emotion is, he's going to be able to do that. For armament, he's able to force it out into like a almost like a energy beam. They'll be able to do that. With Conqueror's Haki, he may be able to manifest a physical form like Ashura. So we've only seen the very bare minimum of Haki, and I think that's why Oda took time in explaining observation, armament, and Conquerors now. And now moving forward in the story, we're going to get more of actually people being able to use it in a way they deem best for them, and instead of what we've already seen so far.
Why is Conqueror's Haki not in Rayleigh's explanation immediately? If typically you can divide Haki into 2 shades, why can't you do the same with Conqueror's Haki? Wouldn't Haki typically be divided into 3 shades, but one just has no access to it? Rayleigh is not stating, for most people Haki can be divided into 2 main shades, but says, Haki can generally be divided into 2 main shades, which is wrong unless he is right, but we just don't understand yet how.
What?
Hear me out. This is going somewhere, and this has been an observation I had for at least 6 months.
So my man's used observing Haki?
The point is that Conqueror's Haki is atypical. You cannot divide the Conqueror's Haki like the other forms of Haki. It can interact with the other colors to create a new color. Hence why the color metaphor is used in the first place.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay, I think I see. I remember his chart. That makes sense. So when you think about dividing Haki into 2 shades, he's talking about armament and observation, and Conquerors is his own ability. And if you're able to infuse Conquerors with those 2, that makes Conquerors in like a realm of its own. That's what this chart's probably going to talk about. But so basically, you're using Conqueror's Haki to better your observation Haki, or Conqueror's Haki to better your armament Haki. So far, we don't know if what Luffy used and what Big Mom used was infusing Conqueror's Haki with armament Haki, or if it was just Conqueror's Haki by itself and infusing your attack with it so you're not able to touch the opponent. But let's keep going.
It's actually extremely fitting to the idea that Oda is going for. It's a color palette and go figure. The 3 main colors are green, red, and blue, with which you can create the rest of the colors. The only reason why Oda would use the color palette metaphor in the first place is if the colors can mix. This is sort the point of colors, and that Oda picked the 3 main colors shows that he...
To be honest, that was actually almost hinted with Katakuri. Katakuri was saying that there's different levels. I don't know if he said different colors, but he said there's different levels of armament Haki. And then Doflamingo also said, Treble also said it's the color of the Supreme King. So that's also giving further argument to the color theme of things. So we may see other types of Haki, like Shanji. So far, his Haki, we don't know if Dialbe Jambe is his Haki, or if it's just him catching his foot on fire. I know Dialbe Jambe now is based on the heat in his heart or something like that. I forgot. Oda said something or mentioned something like that in one of his interviews, that his heart blazes with the fury of respecting women or something like that, and that's what Dialbe Jambe is. But I don't know if it's just him using Haki, or if he's able to further that and maybe make a blue flame, and that's also his armament Haki. So then that would add a different color to armament Haki than we've seen so far in the story. But
going for this idea, but what does this mean for Haki? We will soon see, but first we have to recognize that the plan has changed, and what started as Ryu being the only form of armament Haki was altered after the time skip.
True, because Ryuo is basically what is just basically Haki. Haki, I think Hyogoro said it in Udon Prison that Ryuo is what you guys call Haki, we call Ryuo. Ryuo. There we go.
I have talked about this issue already in my previous theory. The point being, it's a bit more complicated now, because the metaphor doesn't perfectly apply any longer, and we take some artistic creativity in illustrating that new color palette. Before we do that, we have to find out what the new colors are and why they exist in the first place. Let's think about observation Haki as blue. But for armament Haki, it's not that simple. For Ryu, we take red, and for hardening, we take black. These are the 2 colors of Haki you can typically divide. They are distinct in a certain sense, but Conqueror's Haki...
Fair enough. Ryuo was red because it's creating the visible armor. Black is just hardening your arm to be able to hit Logias and stuff like that, and that's just your coating your arm in black hardened Haki. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
For the Conqueror's Haki, let's say it's yellow, but it can't be typically divided like the rest. It has its own effect and usefulness, but it has a certain property. It can mix with...
Okay, so I think what he's saying is that, all right, observation is its own, and it can be split into two things. Armament is its own because it can be split into hardening and Ryo. Conquerors can't be split because it's just Conquerors by itself, but it can be used with the other two. I think that's what he's trying to say, but go back.
Conqueror's Haki is different. For the Conqueror's Haki, let's say it's yellow, but it can't be typically divided like the rest. It has its own effect and usefulness, but it has a certain property. It can mix with the other colors, creating new forms of Haki that can't be taught. This is what Hyogoro is referring to. These forms of Haki can't be taught because only a selected few have access to this Haki.
Ah, okay.
I know most people think Luffy...
Shaw had the power you just wielded is already beyond anything any Ryo I could ever teach you. So basically, okay, so what he's saying is that since Conquerors can't be split, he's just using his Conquerors and fusing it with his armament Haki, because a master like Hyogoro not being able to do what Luffy does doesn't make much sense. But if he's able to, since he doesn't have Conquerors, but if he's able to use his Luffy's able to use his Conquerors with his Ryo, that would obviously make a different color that he hasn't seen before in his longevity or his long-term life using Haki or Ryo. So that makes sense. Okay.
Showing his
I think I'm getting
abilities
understanding
was
what
just
he's
to
trying to get
create
at.
hype, but there was a purpose all along. The point of Luffy showing off is to realize that Hyogoro doesn't possess Conqueror's Haki.
There we go. See?
There is a distinction between those two that explains
20 years ago, he was the underground ruler of Wano. He ran the underworld of the Flower Capital all by himself. He also had a lot of influence over the bosses of the 5 villages and was kind to the masses. He possessed massive power and popularity. He may have been a Yakuza, but he was a chivalrous man.
what is the meaning of the current Haki training plotline in Udon and what people can reach.
Okay.
Even though he used to be a big shot that Kazuki Oden, a Conqueror's Haki master, idolized, he himself isn't a Conqueror's user.
True.
Is this where the Haki storyline is heading? We discover that you can only obtain certain colors of Haki only through the mixture of Conqueror's Haki? Rayleigh already told us that it can't be typically divided.
That makes sense. The reason why Hyogoro didn't realize it because it was Conqueror's Haki, so different colors can be made using Conqueror's Haki with the other two. That's why it can't be split, because Conqueror's Haki in its own is a catalyst or a propelling point to obtain other forms of Haki. And if you don't have Conqueror's Haki, you're almost stuck at the base level or the base colors of just hardening and Ryo, or just observation and future sight. Okay, maybe not future sight, because future sight has only been used by 2 people with Conqueror's Haki, so that might be playing into the part of having Conqueror's Haki and fusing observation. Okay.
And that it can't be trained.
Okay.
Hyogoro tells us that the form of implosion Haki goes beyond any Ryu that he can't teach, which doesn't make any sense. How can Hyogoro not teach Luffy the mastery of this level of Ryu if he himself is any Ryu that he can't teach? Is heading? We discover that you can only obtain certain colors of Haki only through the mixture of Conqueror's Haki? Rayleigh already told us that it can't be typically divided and that it can't be trained. Hyogoro tells us that the form of implosion Haki goes beyond any Ryu that he can't teach, which doesn't make any sense.
It's the user's very spirit manifest. It can only be strengthened by the individual's personal growth. See, the user's very spirit manifest. When I think about that, that's also talking about Zoro using his Conqueror's Haki, because he literally manifested himself. The Ashura is a manifestation of his very spirit. So right now, I feel like Luffy hasn't gotten to I feel like Zoro doing that is a step above what Luffy's done so far. Luffy's able to infuse his attacks with Conquerors, which is pretty dope and good, but I feel like manifesting his very spirit with his Conquerors is a level that Luffy hasn't shown yet, and he will, obviously, because he's an MC, but it's also Luffy because he picks up on things pretty quickly. But I feel like, I'm not saying that Zoro's Conqueror's Haki is stronger than Luffy's, because I don't think that's not true, but I'm saying with Zoro being able to manifest his spirit using his Conqueror's Haki is something Luffy hasn't been able to do yet.
How can Hyogoro not teach Luffy the mastery of this level of Ryu if he himself is a Ryu master, who almost certainly even trained Rayleigh, Shanks, Roger, Oden himself? People who possess this type of Haki seem to have the same take on how to improve your Haki as Hyogoro does. There were 2 Haki training arcs since the New World began. The first was with Rayleigh's flashback or Katakuri fight and Luffy learning Future Sight, an ability that has only been mastered by Conqueror's Haki users. Luffy, Katakuri, most likely admirals like Aokiji or Akainu, solely. Rayleigh couldn't
Maybe.
teach Luffy Future Sight, and Luffy has learned this ability through extreme conditions of battle.
That's when your Haki
By
will truly
experiencing
bloom.
extreme conditions in battle, he grew and obtained this ability.
Yes.
Doesn't this sound exactly how one trains his conqueror's Haki? The same is, coincidentally, also true for what is currently going on, and mind you, Luffy again showed something else off. Luffy is using this ability before Hyogoro, who
Yeah,
seems to
Hyogoro didn't know.
encounter
See,
the
maybe
ability
it
for
is
the first
Conqueror's Haki.
time.
Okay, yeah.
Taking into account that Hyogoro doesn't possess Conqueror's Haki and he doesn't know what Future Sight is, it shows its relation to each other. If one doesn't possess Conqueror's Haki, one isn't able to learn these unique colors of Haki, and it just makes sense why Conqueror's Haki would be different. Conqueror's Haki is the manifestation of its user spirit, and hence why one can impose it onto others.
Okay.
That is why this color can impose itself on other forms of Haki to create new colors.
Yo, okay, so having Conqueror's Haki, being able to impose it on other beings, but also not just other beings, but inanimate objects or oneself. It makes more sense, because if he's able to do it towards his armored Haki or his observation Haki, that deems to him being able to use it on another level. So what is loading? What is loading?
Get the color of
What's going
Future
on?
Sight by mixing observation Haki and Conqueror's Haki,
Yes.
a form of Haki that can't be learned
But
by
also with a calm
non-Conqueror
mind.
users.
You have to have a calm mind to be able to
Especially, if we consider how the same is true for this new type of Haki that I call Implosion Ryu.
do it.
By mixing armament Haki, Ryu, and Conqueror's Haki, we get Implosion Ryu. One imposes their Ryu onto the enemy, and this leads to them being destroyed from the inside.
Okay, so you think it's
This is
Conqueror's
the
Haki?
reason why this
Wait.
goes beyond. One imposes their Ryu.
So wait, but I think Hyogoro is able to send his attacks inside someone though.
By
'Cause I feel like
mixing
he was able to do
armament
that with the
Haki,
sheep or
Ryu,
the
and
llama
Conqueror's Haki, we get
gifter.
Implosion Ryu. One imposes their Ryu onto the enemy, and this leads to them being destroyed from the inside. This is the reason why this goes beyond normal Ryu, and why it can't be taught by someone who doesn't possess Conqueror's Haki. It is still a form of Ryu, but it has a shade in it that can't be progressed through teaching.
Okay.
Conqueror's Haki can only be strengthened by one's personal growth. The descriptions are the same and the connections are all there. The truth about the Conqueror's Haki is that it can mix with the other two shades to create new colors. The reason why I think now this ability is related to Conqueror's Haki is because all of the advanced Haki users, Katakuri, Big Mom and Luffy, have it.
And Kaido,
The
yeah.
color palette has changed,
True.
and hardening having an advanced form therefore makes perfect sense.
So we haven't
is
seen
we-
anyone without Conqueror's Haki be able to use it. So this is getting back to what I'm saying with him and his gear 5th or his new gear form. If Luffy's able to use his Conqueror's Haki, if he's able to flow his Conqueror's Haki correctly, he won't have to overstress the use of his Haki like this. And he's able to not only control the flow of his Haki within himself, but also control how he manifests his on the outer forms or outer life forms or any of his opponent. So him being able to do that may, so like say like how his whole body is covered in armament, or like Virgo how his whole body is covered in Haki. If he's able to flow it, maybe he might be able to get the strength of Gear 4th Bound Man in his base form, instead of going into his Gear 4th form and then attacking. And if that's the case, then his Gear 4th form will just be like a new form itself. Like when he actually goes full on Gear 4th, it will be a completely different form than him actually going his normal Gear 4th right now. So he's able to use Gear 4th type speed, attack, stretching, all that. It's about like Snake Man is stretching, Bound Man is power, Tank Man is defense. He's able to use all of that in its base form because he's able to flow his Haki to an extent further than he has done so far. And if he's able to do that, then he's able to implement his Haki or impose his will on his Devil Fruit in his base form. And that's what he's getting at. The color of Conqueror's Haki being able to impose its will on its armament or his observation, getting an advanced form. If he's able to do that to his Devil Fruit, then he'll be able to use different gears while using advanced Conquerors, or flowing his Conquerors, or putting his will or spirit into his Devil Fruit. That was a lot, but I think I explained it correctly.
Ryu, flowing, which results ultimately in implosions, and there is hardening. What would be the application of hardening, which is an internal ability with the Conqueror's Haki? It would be the flaming pattern. You are imposing your will onto yourself, which enables you to remain with the properties of your Devil Fruit while using Haki.
Boom, yeah, there you go.
This is why Doflamingo has never encountered this ability before. It's only useful to people who need to use their Devil Fruit ability, Haki at the same time, and have Conqueror's Haki. We are taking a real case study, Law, to help illustrate this point. Someone like him would benefit by flaming Haki, greatly, but he doesn't have access to it for some reason, even though he knows the normal hardening. Is it a coincidence that the one guy who is very strong and benefits probably the most on the planet by using the flaming pattern, it enables you to use your devil fruit ability while using your Haki at the same time. It also enables you to apply your devil fruit on the opponent, even if he uses Haki, doesn't have the Conqueror's Haki? It's just perfect for Law, and he would be able to apply his devil fruit on his enemy.
When you think about the flaming Haki, the only 3 people we've seen so far, or maybe 4, is Luffy, Katakuri, Doflamingo, and Kaido. I mean, Big Mom, but she has her homies to do it.
Using his room and sword. Though, he is forced to use an
But that also, this is what I'm getting at for his Gear 5th form. His Gear 5th form, or his new Gear form, will eventually be him being able to flow his Haki, like Hyogo said, not overstress it, be able to flow his Conqueror's Haki into his Devil Fruit, but also using fire in some way, shape, or form. Because, as we've seen so far, Luffy's able to get that flaming pattern using advanced armament all the time with Red Hawk and Red Rock. And if he's able to do that, what is next for rubber when you add fire is vulcanization. Vulcanization is probably going to be some type of it's going to be implemented in some type of way. That's basically his counter towards Kaido when they fight. But being able to vulcanize rubber and use his flaming pattern or flaming color of armament Haki will eventually make him be able to use his new gear. That's my little
ability
take on it.
Like Ryu around his sword to cut people because he can't apply his devil fruit with hardening within his blade. Hardening changes the properties internally. Only super powerful people like Big Mom, Katakuri, and Luffy obtained this stage of hardening. Needless to say, all of them again, Conqueror's Haki users. To summarize, the color palette looks something like this.
Okay.
This entire stage of Haki is separate to swordsmanship, and one can create black blades through the usage of Ryu and hardening at the same time. If you apply this principle of creating a barrier around your sword and fill your sword with hardening, this process seals the black inside it. This process isn't important to the theory, but just in case people are confused why this isn't relevant to swordsmanship. To the theory, this blades through the use can create. This entire stage of Haki is separate to swordsmanship, and one can create black blades through the usage of Ryu and hardening at the same time. If you apply this principle of creating a barrier around your sword and fill your sword with hardening, this process seals the black inside it. This process isn't important to the theory, but just in case people are confused why this isn't relevant to swordsmanship. The way of the sword is different than the way of the conqueror, and they don't align. If you are a reader of mine, you know what I believe the true form of Conqueror's Haki to be, which is Black Lightning. I think I have finally figured out what it truly is. People obviously have realized it is related to the Conqueror's Haki, but at the same time it always had a strange relation to armament Haki. Sabo is one of the few people who seems to have perfect control over Black Lightning, but at the same time has a lot of fighting to show for.
True.
To find the answer what Black Lightning is, we have to figure out what kind of Haki Sabo is using. He uses hardening, obviously, and flowing. There is no doubt that Sabo is a Conqueror's Haki user because Luffy and Ace are. He seems to be even significantly stronger than current Luffy and deserves the number 2 spot in the Revolutionary Army.
Yeah, he is pretty. Yeah,
what is the point? Well, if hardening and flowing can be used at the same time, as we have seen repeatedly, what would happen if you use implosion and the flaming Haki at the same time? Bingo! This is the one thing that makes armament Haki unique to the other colors. It has 2 shades and both can be used at the same time. By having the advanced version of each through the possession of Conqueror's Haki, one obtains the ultimate form of Haki, Black Lightning, flowing black energy. It's kinda This is the one thing time, as we have seen repeatedly. Number 2 spot in the Revolutionary
Gotta go back
Army.
on that one, hold on.
What is the point? Well, if hardening and flowing can be used at the same time, as we have seen repeatedly.
Hardening and flowing, okay.
What would happen if you use implosion and the flaming Haki at the same time? Bingo! This is the one thing that makes armament Haki unique to the other colors. It has 2 shades and both can be used at the same time. By having the advanced version of each through the possession of Conqueror's Haki, one obtains the ultimate form of Haki, Black Lightning, flowing black energy. It's kinda obvious now that we think about it. I wouldn't be surprised to get to know that Kaido's club got blackened in the world just doesn't know. It's technically not a blade either way. That Kaido took all these hits from Luffy without receiving any damage proves that he has the most terrifying armament Haki we have ever seen.
True.
I can't even say that Big Mom would take these punches even half as good. She is able to create a barrier with Ryu but to resist Gear 4 without leaving any marks. This is the greatest show of defense in the entire series. Kaido is an absolute
this
armament
picture.
monster, who said this for some reason, clearly implying that they don't need other conquerors like him. These lines aren't all dropped by accident. The truth about the Conqueror's Haki is that it is atypical and it can mix with other colors. The manifestation of Black Lightning is the ultimate form of Haki because it uses Implosion Ryu, flowing, and flaming, hardening, to maximize the potency of his weapon and at the same time bypasses any defense.
Yeah, and that's what I think, and
so
that's also what I'm saying with Luffy, with Advanced Conquerors. So he has a way to implement Advanced Conquering and flowing, but he doesn't have it on the level of Kaido yet. Kaido has almost a complete mastery of, not, I think maybe definitely I think all forms of Haki, but for sure armament and conquerors, and being able to use those two in tandem. He probably knows how to use it. And remember, he's been in Wano for how long? So basically him being able to learn from maybe the other samurai or the samurai who were able to teach him, maybe even asking Kyogoro at one point to teach him or something like that. He definitely has a better understanding of armament and conquerors. Because remember, if Big Mom said that she saved his life by giving him the Ui no Mi, or fish fruit. So maybe like he didn't have it originally when he was on God Valley, but then after a while he was able to obtain it. So I'm just gonna rewind this one more time.
Half is good, implying that they don't need other conquerors like him. These lines aren't all dropped by accident. The truth about the Conqueror's Haki is that it is atypical and it can mix with other colors. The manifestation of Black Lightning is the ultimate form of Haki because it uses Implosion Ryu, flowing, and flaming, hardening, to maximize the potency of his weapon and at the same time bypasses any defense.
Yeah, no, it's two different things.
The attacks are so strong that they can one-shot someone like Gear 4 Luffy, a 1,500,000,000 bounty man. The name of Kaido's attack, Thunderclap, gives away that it's named after the Black Lightning. This is where the storyline we are currently on is leading towards, and Luffy will have to learn the ultimate form of Haki to defeat Kaido.
I think I definitely liked this video beforehand. But yeah, I think this is March 2027. I think that was actually before the realization of him being able to infuse his attacks. I think. But besides the point, that video was a banger. There's a lot to unpack with Conqueror's Haki, so I mean it's going to take a while before we actually get all the nitty-gritty and all the things we need to know before we can actually say, oh, this is what Haki is and this is what Conqueror's Haki is so good. But what we do know is that Conqueror's Haki does separate the good from the great. So I don't know, man, it's a lot. Like I said at the end of every single video, leave a like, subscribe, hit the noti bell, and leave a comment down below for the One Piece algorithm. But until next time, y'all, peace.